of Women's International League of Peace and Freedom. We're going to start with introductions. I'm going to check in your name and what branch you belong to or where you are in the world, and one good thing. I'm going to start so that we're done. Let me turn off my camera. Hold on. I look really, really bad, but that's just what's up. I'm George Friday. I'm from the Southern Piedmont branch. I'm in Gastonia, North Carolina. And my one good thing is I'm pretty confident I have the means to find a place to live or a place to rent.
Oh, hi, I'm Stacey from George's sister, and I'm Southern Piedmont branch. And my one good thing is I'm blessed to have my sister and look forward to each day.
Oh, shut up. Sorry. All right then. So I'm gonna pass it on, and then when you go, you pass it on to someone else. I'm gonna first pass it on to CC Anderson. Go ahead, CC, if you can. You need to unmute yourself, CC. Okay.
Hey, I finally got the right one. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm CC Anderson in Atlanta. So good to be back from DC. And we had a wonderful meeting with ANA. Nuclear analysis in DC this past week. Got a lot of things cleared up. And you'll be surprised, Black women, we are in control.
Who would you like to pass it on to, CC?
Oh,
Oh, you muted yourself. Sangria, you go ahead.
yeah, I said Sangria.
Okay, cool.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sangria Noble, and I am from Greensboro, North Carolina, but I live in Charlotte. And one good thing is I had a little peace and quiet today. It's just, I got small children, I got grown children, small children, and grandchildren. So I got a little bit of peace and quiet today. And I'll pass it to Miss Teresa.
Thank you, Sangria. So glad that you could join us, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you better. This short introduction is to save time, but hopefully we'll have a little bit more time to hear a little bit more about you, since most of us know each other. My name is Teresa Alameen, and I live in Columbus, Georgia. I'm the with the Fannie Lou Hamer branch, and I'm one of the reps from the Fannie Lou Hamer branch of WILF, based here in Columbus, Georgia. And my one good thing is I met the most fantastic 17-year-old who comes to help me unpack my 100+ boxes, because I just moved in to a really wonderful new space in an apartment that is really great. And now I got help with a young woman to help me unpack my boxes. And she was here today and did a really great job. So I'll pass it on to Philip Cole, if I remember seeing that he's on. Philip, are you there?
Philip is not here anymore. Rita is the last person to go at this point. Philip may be coming back. We've lost this.
Okay. Well, my dear sister Rita, come on, Miss Mexico, come on.
I'm Rita Gonzalez. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Hold on a second. One moment. Okay, that's better. I'm Rita Gonzalez. I'm currently in Sonata, Mexico, formerly from Trinity, North Carolina, and formerly from the Piedmont Triad area. I'm with WILF in domestic prisoners of war, DPAL, and I've attended many of the Black Liberation caucuses, with also Parents Organizing for Public Education, POPE, and Dignity in Schools, and also with Compañeras Campesinas with Rosa Savierda, working with women in North Carolina and Puerto Rico, helping them to acquire seeds and information that will help them to be able to raise food for themselves and for their families, and the excess surplus they sell to get income for their families. So that's what I'm currently involved in still, even from here. And well, Rosa's in Puerto Rico still, and she'll be coming back to the States here shortly. But I've also taken on just something personal with dog rescues here. So I've actually had 3 dog rescue placements. 2 of them were successful, one wasn't. Unfortunately, she passed. We rescued her a little too late. But that's what I'm doing. And I'm here today to see what we need to do in other work here in the struggle here in Black Liberation Caucus, to do whatever needs to be done. And thank you for inviting me, Teresa and George.
All righty. So now on our agenda, we're at BLC purpose. Can you frame this, Teresa? BLC purpose?
Oh, I was muted, George. As you recall, I did say that I would do that. So the Black Liberation Caucus was formed in 2021 when George and I began to collaborate on building branches in the South led by women of color and Black women. And the founding date we look at as May of 2021. And the purpose was to start a campaign really on diversity, equity, and inclusion, because the history of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, founded in 1915, is that it has been very slow on welcoming women of color. And I might add that the reason we named the branch in Columbus the Fannie Lou Hamer branch is because Fannie Lou Hamer joined WILF during the Vietnam era, along with Coretta Scott King, Angela Davis, and many other folks who were active in that period. Well-known, well-educated Black women. Well, Fannie Lou Hamer was a sharecropper, and because she didn't have a college degree, she was treated as less than. And that's been a kind of history that's continued on over these years since the 60s. And some of us who joined years ago, I joined in the 80s, and I was in a branch in Cleveland where they had already stood up to the white supremacy. And so it was all Black women in the branch in Cleveland. And so for years, I thought WILF was a Black women's organization until I got to North Carolina and met the women in the Triangle branch out of Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and found out that WILF is a really, 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 really white organization. So the purpose of the Black Liberation Caucus is to develop stronger ties with allies inside of WILF who want to promote the inclusion of women of color. And this is not a caucus that's meant to last forever. As I was saying to George earlier, based on our 3-year strategy chart, which we will get to, it's a high possibility that we would have made enough progress that we can retire the Black Liberation Caucus at the end of 2024, but time will tell. So that's the purpose of the Black Liberation Caucus, so that we as women of color, Black, Latinx, Indigenous women would be welcome and join the leadership of Will. That's the purpose. So George, I think I should stop to see if Sangria or anyone else has any questions before we go to the next item.
Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm
Okay,
learning.
but you do understand, Sangria.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. I'm a member and also organizer coordinator for NC Second Chance Alliance, North Carolina Second Chance Alliance. We're organization of entities, organizations, community leaders, family members, focusing on those who are directly impacted by the justice system. And myself, I am justice impacted. I've been in North Carolina State Prison before 2006 to 2009. Upon my release, I attended Gifford Tech Community College there. I received my associates in substance abuse concentration, went on to become a peer support specialist, a peer support supervisor, then went on to become now I am a senior in Department of Social Work at A&T, North Carolina A&T State University. I do a lot of campaigning for formerly incarcerated children and peoples and family movements across state to state. I'm also part of the women, children's and family formerly incarcerated movement. I helped organize the Free Her Conference. I did a lot of voter registrations for directly impacted from Atlanta, Georgia. I was a part of the Free to Vote campaign there to Detroit. But most of all, I love people. Okay, I love people. I help people. I do a lot, just by mission of God, not by pay. 'Cause I don't really get paid. I just do a lot by mission of God, and my pay comes when I see people. Like sometimes I may go into the courtrooms and do a lot of training for court watch and driving license restoration. Rule 28 passed that, our driving license cannot be taken away from us and should not rather be taken away from us because we can't pay the suggested price by the state. It's our right to be able to commute. So, I go out and I do a driving license restoration course and, show folks how to go inside of the courtroom, present themselves with a form, which is called the AOC 415 form. You can Google it. It's in the North Carolina court doc forms. It's official court document form. But if those don't know, then they won't know to use that. They won't know that that form is available to get those fees and fines waived. Most fees and fines can get waived unless it's restitution. But I think I'm talking too much right now. But so I just, I really, really try to help people. I do a lot. I have my own nonprofit as well here in Charlotte. It's small, but it's not about how big it is. It's about, just helping. So I help the homeless people a lot. I help folks fill out documentation that, anything that has something to do with holistic services, social work. It's just, I was put here to help folks, and that's what I want to do. I don't regret, going to prison because, I'm not a repeated offender. It wasn't for me to be a repeated offender. It was for me to have the experience so I can be able to share with someone what's going on the inside or try to help prevent someone from going on the inside. You know, I came up from my grandparents raised me. My mother died when I was 7. We were very poor. I'm a child of alcoholics. So social work it has been my thing. I was raised by the school, the church, you know, the neighborhood, get on a different path, but then got right back on the path that God wanted me to be on. So I do not regret ever going through anything that I have been through. But you know, I know it was
Oh,
put to make me strong.
Sangria.
Thank you.
But
Uh,
yes, I'm gonna end it right there. I'm gonna because I go on, I get to testifying, but
Yeah, you will.
I'm glad to be here.
Mary
well,
White is
Yes.
here, Teresa.
yeah, I did see that. Mary White, we introduced ourselves earlier. So if you could give your name, your branch, and one good thing.
All right, I'm Mary White and I work with the Triangle branch in North Carolina. And I'm happy to be with you all this afternoon. And I hope that all of your plans will be successful.
Do you have one good thing you want to share with us about your day or something recent?
Well, I can just say that one thing that I'm working on is a letter to the Tennessee legislators who had removed the 2 Black legislators from office. And I have been trying to get various organizations to sign on to that letter. And at the same time, right after I developed it, different things came down from here in North Carolina. So it's almost an embarrassment to even send that letter, but I'm going to send it anyway because I worked on it, and hoping that I can eventually write one for the legislators here in North Carolina, because gerrymandering and the court systems are really ridiculous here, and it's hard to just sit still and quiet and do nothing about it. So I continue to keep moving and pressing forward. And so I hope everybody else's plans will be successful as well.
Well, thank you, Sister Mary. And thank you for your generosity. You're always there in the cause of freedom. You've been on the freedom side a long time, Sister Mary. And I think you're the elder of the elders on the call. So thank you so much. And we'll move on to the BOPA, our basis of political agreement, Sangria. We review it at every monthly meeting. So George, if you could walk us through that.
Certainly. Uh-oh, sorry. I selected the wrong share. Try that again. Where are you? Okay, here we are. So this is our basis of political agreement, which we agreed on in May of 2021. Our decisions are made by consensus. Our monthly steering committee meetings are made up of 2 representatives of African descent from each branch. Today, we have 1 representative from many branches, 5, I think. And here are the areas of work. Reparations, free all political prisoners. Criminal justice reform, end mass incarceration. Ending voter suppression, free Palestine solidarity. Anti-racist transformation of WILF US, solidarity with other oppressed peoples of color. Universal health care for all, Medicare for all. Immigration justice. AFRICOM out of Africa. Affordable housing, ending gentrification. So here are this is the basis of our political agreement. Are there any things we need to add or revise?
Well, I think it covers everything that most of us are working on. maybe we could just do a round and say people are working on. I'll begin by saying I'm working on reparations, free all political prisoners, criminal justice reform, specifically ending mass incarceration. Also very active with affordable housing. We formed an affordable housing alliance here in Columbus, Georgia, and we're seeking an ordinance that would provide reparations for people living in poverty, and most specifically, descendants of enslaved Africans for the purpose of home ownership. So that's what I'm working on here with the Fannie Lou Hamer branch and the Southern Anti-Racism Network. So I will pass it to Rita to hear what's going on in Mexico.
Well, actually, I think I came to the wrong side of Mexico because the organizations that I was trying to connect with African people of African descent, are actually on the other side, like Oaxaca and those kind of areas, and Chiapas, and actually is more indigenous on that side because that was another community that I was trying to connect with, in aligning with solidarity with other oppressed peoples of color. So that has not quite worked out like I wanted to, but my other family, they're moving. They put their house for sale, and that's the area they're going to go back to. The only reason I had came up to this side was for close proximity to the U.S. to be able to use my U.S. insurance for my medical needs. And that's going to be kind of iffy itself. But I haven't quite made the connections that I wanted to make. So, but I'm still working at it and actually looking to connect with some people. It's not going to be on this list, unfortunately, because it's along the lines of ecology, water, and water rights. That's something that I'm branching off into that I've always been interested in. So it doesn't match up with that.
Well,
But
immigration is a really hot button issue. And because the prejudice and bias towards people coming through Mexico and from Mexico means that we have a lot of work that we could do, continuing the work that you and I were doing years ago around Black, Brown unity. So we don't have time to go into the details here today, but I hope at our next meeting, you could think more about the crisis at the border that involves people of color, and particularly people migrating from the global South. But let's move on to Cece, who's with the Metro Atlanta branch. So, George, I think there's noise in your background or in somebody's background. So people who have guests at their homes, you might want to mute yourself unless you're talking. But Cece, since I heard you're willing to take up the leadership of the Ending Mass Incarceration and the Death Penalty subcommittee of AHR, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're working on in Metro Atlanta?
Thank you so much, Teresa. I was just stopping by Publix to pick up some things for next week at the store, and I ran into Andrea Boone, who is on the City Council of Atlanta. And I was speaking to her concerning the Fulton County Jail and all of the dilemmas that Sheriff Lavat has going on there. And on this coming Saturday, on the 6th or 7th, whatever, I think it's the 6th, I will receive another certificate for a chaplain of Fulton County, which I told her it depresses me to see on the news how men and women are being treated. And the mayor of Atlanta has been crying with the Chef LaBarque concerning building a new jail or moving the prisoners out. And I'm working on that very, very diligently as we speak, which coincides with the criminal justice reform and also reparations for the Black farmers here in the state of Georgia. Also, I wanted to mention about the affordable housing and ending the gentrification here in the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia. We are losing our communities, as if you don't know, people can't afford to live in Atlanta and anywhere that people have earned homes, have bought homes down through the years and passed it to generations. I know that my family members, great grandmother had, acres and acres, 20 to 100 acres, and down to about 10 now, that because that generation has passed on and no one else seems to care, because I'm really further down the line, but that's still not an excuse. We have to look at who we vote and put in offices. That's another thing that I'm trying to do. My plate is full. Yes, it is. It's overflowing. But my heart goes out to all of these things that I mentioned and ending that voter suppression, because we got to keep people who are in jail, haven't been convicted, and are not a felony, but done that time and paid that fine. You need to know that you can still vote in the state of Georgia. And many people do not do that, are not aware of it for whatever reason. And I'm trying, Teresa and George, to get on the global, international level to bring awareness of the things that we're doing as a whole. Thank you.
Well, thank you, CC. And I do want to talk to you more about the SARN board and how we're collaborating around these issues of affordable housing, in particular in Georgia, because we almost got a state law passed to protect tenants and renters in particular from these investors that are coming in, buying up property and making rent unaffordable. So George, since we've heard a bit from Sangria already, George, do you have anything you want to add about work around Southern Piedmont?
We are active around Medicare for all and portable housing. Sangria named end voter suppression and freeing all political prisoners. There's also efforts to work on the public school system and support a different kind of school, community schools or learning centers, community learning centers. That's education isn't here, so that's all.
Mm.
And
Well,
then we had reentry month. Reentry month here from North Carolina was this April. So we have a lot of opportunities for reentry housing where folks who are coming out of prison can get involved in the program and have travel lodge or transitional homes and be transitioned for up to a year and a half. That's very big here for North Carolina, as well as those 56,000 disenfranchised voters that got their rights back in this July.
oh, well,
yeah.
thank you, Sangria.
Yes.
Well, we generally have these meetings for an hour or up to 90 minutes. And since we have a small group today, we do want to try to finish by 5. And part of what we do in these meetings, because it's mostly all of us are in the South, and that's certainly the case now. We had one person who was on the call briefly from San Francisco, and he's actually on the national board, Philip Cole, but we lost him. So everybody who's on the call now from Metro Atlanta, Fannie Lou Hamer in Columbus, Georgia, Triangle in Durham, Mary White, Durham, North Carolina, and you and George in the Charlotte, Gastonia area, Sangria. So we're all in the South. So that's something to really kind of note as we put up the Black Liberation Caucus 3-year strategy, which we began in January of 2022. So while George is putting that up, I'll just say that we started this 3-year plan in January of 2022 in order to bring in 300 new members to WILF by the end of 2024. And we're largely making the connection between this as the last 3 years of the UN decade for people of African descent called by the UN. So our real serious purpose is to bring about diversity, equity, and inclusion inside of WILF. And we've accomplished quite a bit in these 16 months. And so we're coming around to the midway point, which May and June will mark months 17 and 18 of the 3-year plan. So we'll have 18 months left from July of 2023 to December of 2024. And so George has up the 3-year plan. So George, I'm stuck with my phone. So the July 2022 to June 2023 is the period that we're in now, which we're calling the midterm period. We had a short-term period that was the first 6 months, and we took off, and we managed to get 50 new members signed up to WILF. And I think that we're on target to have an additional 100 members by June of this year. So at the halfway point, we'd be at our halfway goal, which is 150 new members. So every new member that joins, like you, Sangria, it gets us closer to the goal of where we want to be in December of 2024. And we've been mainly doing it by building branches. And it's not just the Black Liberation Caucus. If you look at the column where it says allies and anti-racism transformation partners, we have quite a few branches where people have clearly identified themselves as folks who want to be a part of what the BLC is doing. Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Boston branch, Burlington, Vermont, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, of course, the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. We had a member in Fresno. I think there are 1 or 2 Black members in the Fresno branch. And we have a great ally in Humboldt, which is in California. And so you can see the list of folks in the branches that are clearly about recruiting and engaging with Black, Indigenous, people of color in their areas. And we have some very specific allies, individuals who have stepped up. And we actually formed a European Descent Allies Caucus because the BLC had been under attack by the current president of WILF, saying that we weren't really part of WILF. And the folks you see listed here are folks who disagree with that position, who are people of European descent, the individual allies who have said they don't agree with that idea that the BLC is not a part of WILF. And so we've done some research, which George has been the main leader on this, since she has done anti-oppression work as an expert. And then, of course, we have a number of activities that we have on our list of things to do that we did in July, and we add to this list on a regular basis. And of course, there'll be several things to add to this list between now and June, which is when this midterm ends. So our strategic objectives during this period that we're in now is to have established the European Descent Allies Caucus. And that is certainly the case. So some of the allies have been less active, but Robin Lloyd from the Burlington branch, Samantha Turner from Southern Piedmont, Gloria McMillan from the Arkansas, Tucson, Arizona branch, and Sue Hilton from Humboldt, Odile, not so active from the Midwest. But that gives you an idea of where we are now. George, if you could show the final phase of the campaign so that we're at July of 2023 to December of 2024. By December of 2024, this is what we want to have accomplished in terms of goals. So let's go over to the goals. Reparations ordinances in 20 branch cities, highlighting the UN decade in reparations. So the UN decade ends December 31st, 2024. And we would have our 300 members that we would have recruited over the 3 years, and 20 branches are willing to participate in the anti-racism transformation. So this is our strategic plan. And once completed, based on our strategic objectives of adding more members of color to the national board, we're saying that our goal is that the national board, which is quite ambitious, would be majority women of color, which means that those of us who have 2 years or more is in membership by 2024 can certainly run for office. I've been a member for a long time, but I'm not gonna run for a national board seat until the fall of 2024. So when we step on stage in 2025, there should be quite a few of us. I'm hoping that CC will certainly run for the national board. She'll be eligible. And so we're looking for people who are willing to run, because currently we have George Friday on the national board as program committee chair, and we have Philip Cole on the national board as an at-large board member. And George is working to get more people on the national board. And I believe she's been successful in getting one other woman of color on the national board. So George, you want to speak to that?
Yes, ma'am. We have several vacancies on the board currently, and it is possible to appoint someone to the board between elections. Martha Collins from the Milwaukee branch stepped forward to volunteer for the Development Committee Chair. And there was an informal board vote that was an approval from most people, but it won't be formally a yes until the May board meeting, which is on the 27th. So for now, Martha Collins is on the track to be the Development Committee Chair.
It's important to note that there are a couple of positions on the board where there can be two chairs. Program committee is one, and development committee is the other. And so development committee is really about the fundraising, if I understand it correctly. The position I'll be running for is membership development chair, because I really do like recruiting new members. So if there are no questions about the 3-year strategic plan, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Are
I
there
do
any?
have a question.
Okay.
The last time that I have been meeting with this group, which was a while back, as you mentioned, it seemed like the national, well, you did say, stated that the national disputed the fact that the Black Caucus was a part of WILF. And it seemed to be rather contentious at that time. And after that, I never was privy to the fact of what happened as to, but I saw a newsletter where you wrote an article, and now I'm trying to find out what happened or how did it occur that now the Black Caucus is being accepted by the main body, or am I misunderstanding something?
Well, I think the president, the current president of WILF, holds to that position. What we had was a conversation. It was like a 2-hour conversation that was woefully inadequate. And it was very clear that the women and members of European descent on the call, for the most part, and certainly all of us in the Black Liberation Caucus disagreed with the position. So we continue to function accepted by WILF International as a legitimate group of members who have come together to address legitimate issues. So basically, we don't need their permission to exist.
Oh,
And
so you did get the international consent. That's wonderful. I
Well, the international does not interfere with different sections, but the international embraced us at the triannual international meeting and allowed us to do a workshop as a Black Liberation Caucus. So they have always been in support of us. And because they have youth caucuses, they have all kinds of caucuses at the international level. And they thought it was just really strange that the US president was taking the position. But the key point is, Mary, we don't need permission to exist.
Okay.
Because we are struggling with white supremacy inside of a 108-year-old organization that has not come to terms with its white supremacy. So the majority of members support us existing and are very happy that we're recruiting more women of color and that more people of color are joining the board and participating.
That's good to understand, and I appreciate you making that explanation possible for me. One other thing, the European group that's similar, has it actually been functioning, fairly well since then?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have joint meetings, and we established a listserv where we invited all members, which I think the item is on the agenda of the BLC EDAC work, because the Black Liberation Caucus and the European Descent Allies Caucus are working closely together. To be quite frank, we created that caucus in order to make sure that we had allies who were willing to step forward and say, we're with you. And we have certainly achieved that. So George, you want to say a little bit more about it in the listserv, since you and Sue are coordinating the listserv for this however many months you're doing it, George.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
are we at that agenda item, George?
Actually, that's the next agenda item after recruitment strategies.
Oh, well, we can be very brief on the recruitment strategies. It's a case of each one, reach one, each one, teach one, which is a methodology from the civil rights movement. Sangria, I come out of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, in 1965, 66. So I'll be 75 in June. And I'll come off camera before we end the call. I'm a little bit on the raggedy side myself, George, because I've been working here trying to get all these boxes unpacked. But I will come off camera, as we say, goodbye, close to the end. But what the question before us is, do you know of any potential new members that you can recruit between now and the May meeting? And I'll start by saying a new board member of the Southern Anti-Racism Network, who has agreed to be our new treasurer. That's a nonprofit I started 25 years ago, Sangria, and we are all pretty much members of WILF in terms of our regional board. So I know that I will have at least one new recruit between now and May. So we're kind of just doing a little going around in terms of recruitment strategies. So we start thinking about it, because we really want to make our goal of 300 new members by the end of 2024. Anyone else have any potential new recruits? CC, what about you? You still there? Well, CC, you're muted, so we can't hear you if you talk.
Can you hear me?
I hear
Yes,
you now.
Okay, good. I was saying that I've been recruiting and outreaching several different women, about 3 or 4, trying to get them to come on board. But yes, I'm doing the due diligence.
Well, thank you, because one of the struggles is the Metro Atlanta branch is not acting like a branch yet. And Shante said she could do that, but I haven't seen that that's happening. So at our next meeting, we're gonna move the meeting up a week, which should allow Adrian, who is a WILF member, to be at the meeting. And so hopefully we could talk about, because there's a lot of members in the Atlanta branch, and the Atlanta branch should really be active because of the important work that you talked about. So all of those women who are already members who received the notice for this meeting need to be brought on board. So it's a question of retaining members. as well when it comes to Metro Atlanta. Sangria, think about it a little bit more so you can think of other people you can recruit. I know that George is actively asking people because I think she asked you, right, Sangria? And so we want to keep on recruiting in the South in particular. So George, let's move on to the other agenda item.
Okay, so for the BLC EDAC group, we've met together as a full group. The EDAC meets on their own once a month at this point, although last month they met twice. And we will have a May meeting between BLC and EDAC. We decided to launch a listserv, which is women_peace_freedom. It's a Rise Up listserv. I will send an invitation to each of you. You have to accept the invitation to join the listserv. And there we've posted articles or videos or links to books or things that would be provocative to help our European descent allies to think about white supremacy, how they talk to their branch members about white supremacy, how you call people in and not necessarily calling them out, because you're not trying to, throw hot water in people's face because they are, have succumbed to the ubiquitous reality of white supremacy. It's like you can't help it. If it's you can't get behind it, you can't avoid it. It's going to happen. So it's about helping people be able to deal with that reality that we're dealing with. I hope I didn't rush that at all, but I will make sure you guys are invited to the listserv. We have to let y'all know that our next two meetings, our May and June meetings, will be a week earlier. So I think the May meeting then is the 21st. And yes, I think Teresa mentioned that the May meeting is the 21st. Teresa, we can't see you. Your face is very dark. There's no light on your face, so it's hard to see you.
That is a situation. Oh, let me see if I can turn on this light in the room where I am. Strangely enough, this is called the sunroom, and it's the office area of my new 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment with sunroom. And I'm in the sunroom where the sun is shining, but it's not a lot of light.
Can see you right now. You look good now. Can see your face and your lipstick and your groovy earrings.
I don't have on any lipstick. That's just my naturally beautiful lips.
Oh, very nice. So we meet on the 21st of next month. Any announcements? I've got one, but if anybody else have an announcement? Just under 5.
Well, George, you are rushing. So George and I will facilitate the May and the June meetings. But we're looking for someone else to facilitate July and August. We want to try to get a way of setting up facilitators for 2 months running and trying to make sure that we get 2 representatives from at least 5 to 7 branches on the call, so that we have 10 to 14 participants on the call, because this is a steering committee meeting. So it's not like a y'all come, everybody Black or Indigenous come. It's like making sure that we have representation from branches that are active. But the truth of the matter is most branches are not that strong right now. And some of the branches that have been started over the last 2 years are stronger than some of the historic branches in the Northeast and New England, in the West Coast, where in many cases, they don't even have meetings anymore as branches. So the June meeting will be, I believe, June 18th. And my birthday is June 27th, and I'm actually having a birthday party on June 25th. And so that will be the last Sunday in June. So just to be clear, the June meetings are going to be a week earlier than normal. And we'll decide on June 18th what date the July meeting is to make sure it's not conflicted with a person who will facilitate. And so, George, you want to give the announcements?
Yes. Here I come. Okay, dang. All right, I thought I was muted. I messed up. So on May 27th at 1 Eastern, the National Board will meet. So I will include with the recording that I send out later today or tomorrow, I will include the email address of the secretary where you email to say you want to attend the board meeting. The board meeting is a Saturday afternoon. It's the last Saturday of the month, and it rarely lasts less than 2 hours. It can often be 3 hours long, just a heads up. Any other announcements? Sangria, if you know anyone who has a house to rent for not too much money, I need a house. 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a porch and a backyard. And I can pay probably 3 months and the deposit when I pay.
George, you don't
Okay.
want to do that. George, you don't want to be locked into that. You pay the first month's rent and a deposit. Don't do anything more than.
Okay.
Hold on to your money, because when you move into a house, you're going to have a lot of expenses.
Okay.
You may have deposits on gas and
I will.
lights
Yeah.
and all of that. So don't offer more than what is usual and customary.
Okay. But think about me, Sangria. We don't have a car, so we need to be near public transportation if we can get it. I'm just asking everybody I see. I've been asking people. at
But
the grocery-
George,
Yes.
but George, I thought you wanted to stay in Gastonia.
Charlotte is all right too. We discussed places. Also thinking about places where it's likely to be able to have employment and public transportation. If you want to get employment here in Gastonia, you don't have a car, you are in trouble because public transportation stops at 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's worse than Columbus. I
Right.
thought this was bad. Transportation stopping at 8.
Wow. CC came back to say goodbye. She left us, but now
Oh, great. Is she back or she's gone again?
No, she's
Oh,
here.
there she. Oh, great. Well, good. So everybody turn on their cameras so we can see who you are. CC, turn on your camera. Mary, George, I'm up here shamelessly with my little work clothes on with my camera.
I'm unable to get mine to work. So that's the best I can do.
Oh, and there's the beautiful Sangria who's outside. Oh,
Yeah, I got my girls over there playing. Yeah, in the yard. On the
Nice.
piano.
Very nice.
great. George, let me see you. Since you are claiming you were a mess. Let's see the mess.
This is all you get to see.
Oh, beautiful. I love the way you can do your hair. You can braid it and everything. Your hair is long. So bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
See you in May or on one of
All
the.
right, CC.
Good
Yeah,
deal
CC.
today.
Where's
Bye,
CC?
y'all.
CC, don't forget, let us know when the EMI meeting is.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good day.
Bye.